about a very interesting topic because I noticed that a lot of people are becoming very adventurous now in the industry, especially producers who are trying to take it to the next level. Last year we had, last year or 2 years ago, Mobley Mobsters and the Buckets, yeah, they successfully had their first 3D animated film, and BCSD talked about his challenges, what he faced, and he mentioned a lot of things. I realized that most people who are producing animation don't actually understand the process of making animation, so they just give you unnecessary pressure and all that. So this session is just to run us through what you need to know, especially when you are trying to do an animated movie. We have been privileged to also have worked on similar projects that I worked on a movie at a point, but we had to just cut the producer off because it was becoming too a hell for us. So let's start. Next slide.
Somebody has to go up there and control it then.
Remove the battery and okay, so basically, so I think the first thing on the slide is what is 2D animation? 2D animation, whenever I meet some clients, it gets confusing. People don't know the difference between 2D animation. So I usually tell them 2D animation is actually the flat, two-dimension type of animation, while 3D is like the 3-dimension type of animation. On my slide, I actually have samples of them. But I think the easiest thing is the one that has like shadows as if you can grab. Am I right? I have my 3D guys here, so they can also tell us. So 3D usually has this future of almost looking like reality, and I think it's an advantage that 3D has because people tend to want to go for 3D because they feel 3D looks more like reality. So if you see adverts, agencies usually like using 3D animation even more than 2D because, for example, if you are doing you're advertising Bombita, for example, a 3D will show the Bombita can better than a 2D animation will. And I think that's why there are more 3D animation in television than 2D animation. After talking about 2D animation, so the question is, what is a movie? The slides are not working. What is a movie? A movie is actually something that is actually longer than 20 minutes, because I've seen some movies that are like 40 minutes, 50 minutes. Okay, but if it's longer, because once it's longer than 20 minutes, it can't qualify as a short film. You can't enter into festivals as a short film anymore once it's more than 20 minutes. So a movie has to be long, meaning it takes about a lengthy amount of time for it to be made. I'm sure we've seen different types of movies, on the screen. Yeah, so like you can see, that's 2D animation by the almighty Disney. So 2D animation is the art of creating movements in a two-dimensional space. This includes characters, creature, FX, and backgrounds. The illusion of movement is created when individual drawings. Yes, that's another unique feature of 2D animation. It is hand-drawn. Though, recently we have 3D animations that try to copy 2D animation, so it's becoming the lines are becoming very blurred, but I think they still call them 3D animation, right? Even when yeah, so, and the other idea is that you have to draw 24 frames per second, okay, especially when you are doing more realistic animation like this one. But if you are doing like manga or doing action-based animation, it can go as low as maybe 12 or 14 frames per second. Conventionally, animation is done on 2S, meaning there is a drawing every 2 frames. This allows artists to save on production, like I said, sometimes it goes into 2 frames, but they're going for very realistic, flowy, moving animation. That's what happens. Next frame. Yes, what is movie? Next frame. Yes, a film is also called a movie motion picture or moving pictures. It's a work of visual arts used to stimulate experiences that communicate ideas, stories, perception, feelings, beauty, or atmosphere. One now to mention here is, at the end of this talk, I'll talk about it, but don't confuse, some people have stories. I've met people who have stories, and after listening to their stories, I realized that they don't have a movie story. Not every story is for movies. There are some stories that it needs to be a series. There are some stories that are not thick enough. It can just be a short film. Okay? But you meet producers or you meet creators who have ideas and are like, no, I want to make it to a movie. I'm like, this thing does not have the feelings, the beauty, the character arcs that you need to have in a movie. Okay, the fortunate thing about me is that I also write, so I have an idea of both sides, because when you give a writer some ideas, the idea is so minimal that it's frustrating for them to explore. There's nothing to talk about, there's no content. So at the end of this session, we need to ask ourselves, do you want to make a movie? Or do you want to make a series? Or do you just want to do a short film? Next slide. Why do you want to make your own 2D animation movie? This is a very important question. Next slide. You need to ask yourself these questions. 1, you want to tell a story and entertain. One of the things I noticed being a Nigerian is that anytime you're trying to do something, they ask you, what's the moral? What are you going to learn here? Sometimes you don't have to learn anything. You just tell a story, that entertains. Just make people feel good, But as a good writer, you still find a way of finding some morals and lessons there. For example, John Wick, is just killing, guys just killing. But if you look at it very well, you have some lessons to learn. For example, mind your own business. For example, don't go and do what you cannot handle. So you need to first of all have a story to tell. There are some movie concepts that they have a story to tell, but they are not entertaining. So apart from having a story to tell, you need to make it entertaining. You need to make a change or educate. A lot of NGOs sponsor that one. If you have maybe you have a film on HIV. I remember when I was in France, somebody came to me and said, Ayo, are you not doing anything on the LGBT community? I was like, okay. There's money there. If you can just come up with something, I can get you funding. So you need to ask yourself, do you want to make a change? Is that the kind of change you want to make in our environment? Or do you want to educate? Maybe HIV, you want to educate about the girl child, and all that. Number 3, to make money. Okay? To make money. Now, let me talk about this because it's a very important thing. Many people think that when they make a movie, making movies is not, how do I put it? There's no real money in making movies, and that's why Hollywood, the way Hollywood was built, it was built in a way whereby you're not necessarily, how do I put it? Hollywood built the movie concept in a way whereby you are able to evade tax, meaning that the only way you can really make money in movies if you continue keep making movies. So if you just have one idea and you say, I'm going to hammer, it's a lie. Most chances are, by the time you finish the movie, by the time you recoup the money back, what you spent already. So the beauty about making movies is, when you're making your first movie, have it in mind that maybe there's a part 2. Because most likely, the real money you're going to make is from the next one. Okay, and then the next one. So the real beauty of making money from movies is having that mindset that there's continuity. So when you're doing your story as well, Ask yourself, does this story has potential? There are some stories, when you finish watching them, or some movies, you want to know what happens to that character. Am I right? You want to know what happened to this character because the characters are so deep. So, and that's why you have some people have like spin-off movies, because the writer has developed the world so much that there's enough characters that I can turn into. I was so happy when James Gunn, the Peacemaker character, did a spin-off. Now has a spin-off series, 8-episode spin-off series that is showing now at HBO. Is it HBO Max? Number 4, to make the fans happy. You might just want to make people feel good and just go home and just feel, most people do love stories and romantic stories, they do that. You finish the film and you're just happy and all that. Then lastly, to get awarded or recognized. Yeah, you could make a movie because I'm so good at this animation thing. I want to show the world that I can do this thing. And then you do the movie and you get all the awards and all that. I'm sure BC will be so excited now. He's been winning awards back to back. I'm like, yay! So that's the beauty. You get recognition. People know you. They still calling you to come and speak. Keep calling you to come and next slide, please. Questions you should ask before you make a movie. So I have a list of questions that I think you should ask yourself before you go and make your movie. Next slide. 1. Am I mentally ready for this? Please. Movie is not my mind. Are you mentally ready? And I'm talking to you as a producer now. If you're a producer, when I say producer is not necessarily the person that brings the money, but a producer is the person that holds the money. An executive producer is the person that brings the money. So you might just be a producer who has the idea, and then you try to look for money and they give you money. So you need to have that mental readiness for what you're about to do. Because you're going to be dealing with a village. You're going to be dealing with a lot of people. You're going to be dealing with render time. You're going to be dealing with systems crashing. You're going to be dealing with so many things. So, are you ready to spend 2 years of your life doing this? I use the word 2 years because 2 years is like the average time. If I'm right? 3D guys, yeah. 2 years is like the average time for you to get your movie ready. So if you don't have 2 years of your life to commit to a project, because it can be very, very frustrating. Always calling, always managing people. Some people will run away with your script, some people will run away with this something. Somebody will resign during that 2 year period. A lot. I'm telling you, a lot. The movie project I said I worked on, I almost died. Because they brought in a director. So the director is from 3D. So he kept on bringing 3D ideas into a 2D space. I'm like, guy, calm down. 2D and 3D, they are two different. There are some things you can achieve in 3D that you might not be able to achieve in 2D. He said, no, this. I was like, let me school you, And another thing is when you're designing characters, sometimes when you design a 2D character, it doesn't look exactly like that 3D character. 3D character doesn't look exactly like this. And that's the mistake some people make. They just want it to look exactly, like that one. So, second thing is dealing with people. I've talked about that already. You have to learn to deal with people. Are you a leader? You must have serious leadership qualities, And that's why most animation studios, they have very good leaders. Because you can't run a studio without being a good leader. That's one thing. You need to know when somebody is down, is low, encourage them, maybe give them transport money sometimes, maybe pat them on the back just to finish the job. Or else you find out that people just leave the project. And when somebody leaves the project, it scatters everything. The project can be set back, some years. Then C, begging for money. Begging for money. Most times the money is not always enough. I'm telling you, because of those challenges I mentioned earlier, the money, you might do a budget, and then I'm telling you, like BC was talking in the session, he said, they had already done budget, giving the clients, then dollar went up, they were paying for software every month for a particular amount. When dollar went up, he said I don't want to quote him rightly, but he said he had to commit about 10 million of his own money to that project, to that Moppy Mobsters project. So who would have believed? What if he didn't have the 10 million? So you need to have, as a studio, so you need to have like some money backed up. Either money or you're ready to beg your staff, please just let us finish this program and beg you so that I can collect our balance. So you need to learn to beg for money. Having traveled abroad, one thing I realized is, and it was a very eye-opener for me, Nigerians are so independent, okay? Which is a good thing. But when you go outside, it's a bad thing. Let me explain. There was a time I was talking to somebody, I was like, we're currently working on a movie, because I have a movie project, personal movie project. And it was like, oh, wow. So, have you got the broadcaster? I said, no. Do you have an executive? I said, no. He said, so how are you going to do it? I was like, spoof animation, we're a large team, we're going to come together and do it. And I just saw his countenance. I'm giving you some industry tips. I just saw the countenance, and his countenance was like, he's not taking me seriously. And I felt bad. So it just dawned on me, and after meeting other people, it dawned on me that you don't use your money to do your projects. No matter how rich you are, no matter how independent you are, you don't use your own money to do projects. You must beg. If you're in this industry and you're not begging for money, they don't consider you as one of them. And I was telling somebody this morning that, that's the difference between us here and over there. If you carry that attitude, they will look at you as if you're arrogant. They will look at you as if you're not a people's person. They will look at you as if you're mad because you want to take on the risk. You want to take on the risk of handling other projects by yourself. Okay? But if you come and you go and you say, look, please, you go to the government, you're looking for money, they take you seriously. And I think I understand why. Because once you do that, you're begging for money, it means that you understand the risk that is on you. You understand that you have to send this money back. Because ultimately, you need to return the money. And averagely, to make a movie, a 2D animation movie now, at least you need at least 40 million. If we're working on spoof, at least 40 million, to do that. But it could be more, depending on the kind of style that you're working on. So you need to have a beggar's mentality. I'm sorry to say this, but you need to have a beggar's mentality. I'm learning it too. I'm learning how to write proposals to beg for money. I'm really learning it. Then D, are you ready to fail? What's about producers I've met? There's no producer or creator that I've met that's not excited about the project. This project is to change the world. What they feel is the best thing after sliced bread. They are always excited. They are always like, wonderful, Don't worry, once you finish it, you see the money rolling in. I was shocked. I was talking with Film One sometime last year when I had this idea of doing the movie. And Film One told me, he said, if you cannot do your film below 10 million, you are making a loss. I was like, how do you do animation movie, below 10 million? And it was an eye-opener for me. And I think one of the reasons why he said that is because most Nigerian content cannot travel beyond Nigeria. I was talking with my French partners. Last week, and the lady kept on saying, international project, not an international project. So that it can, yes, it's for Africa, but it's not an international project. When you are writing your story, don't write a story that is for a local audience. I can go on. Camera, is it okay? How did I What's up? It's like the battery. Hello. Yeah, so this is very big advice. Don't write your story for Nigerian audience. Write your story for international audience. I remember when I wrote the first pilot for the script and I sent it to France and they read it, they're like, wow, this is good. This is an international show. And it dawned on me that you might have a writer that is not writing an international show. I believe maybe later, maybe next year or some other time, we'll do a workshop on writing an international show. Let me just say this. When I saw the Moppy Mobster script, because we worked on it first, Spook worked on that Moppy Mobster story. In fact, they were the ones I'm talking about that gave us help. This inside, for the benefit of those who are here. I read the script, and the script was not international standard script. Okay? And that's a challenge. Not every writer is an internationally, not all writers write for international audience. Okay, there are a lot of things. I just mentioned some pacing, language, those things. You need to put them in the film to make it appeal to the international audience. And sometimes a writer might write without having the international market in mind. Okay? Meaning there are some things you need to explain. You don't just assume, you have to explain your culture in your film. Next slide. Do you really have a story that's great and can make money? The title of the film. The title of the film is another thing. You hear some titles and you know that this person is not even writing for the international market. Okay? One of the things I always advise people when you're doing a title, try not to make your titles longer than 3 syllables. I'm just saying. 3 syllables. That is back. But sometimes it can be if you're a known name, The reason why you do that is because you want your name to be memorable. Okay? And that's why you hear some movie names and you can't remember it, or you mix it up. Case in point, the one I mentioned earlier. The name is so funny that you can't remember it. That even the owners sometimes make mistakes when they are pronouncing it. So don't do a film that the title is a tongue twister, that the title does not communicate the meaning of the film. Let it be straight up. When you see the title, you're like, wow, I think I know what this film is going to be all about. B, do you know your genre and have an actual concept? And that's the thing. You need some producer like, so what's your genre? It's everything. We're just packing everything. It's suspense, action, drama, a little love. And we put in there. And it's so, you're like, okay. The problem with that is that if you don't know your genre, you do not know your audience. And if you don't know your audience, you might not really be able to classify your movie. Okay? Because there's 18 plus, PG, blah, blah, blah. And also you need to know your demographic, because once you know your genre, you can know who you are appealing to. If it's sci-fi, you know that, okay, it's the geek community, if it's romance, it's feminine, because it also affects your posters. That's another really key angle. Can you make the audience cry, laugh, or touch any of the human emotions? And that's one thing. A good writer or a good producer must also ask himself, what are the emotions I want to hit in this movie? It's an offshore genre, because if you're writing comedy, you want to make these people laugh. So you put a lot of punchlines in your film. What emotions? If you're doing horror, you want to make them afraid, right? If you're doing comedy, you want to make them laugh. If you're doing romance, you want them to go and stay with their girlfriend or their wife after they finish watching your film. So you need to have that at the back of your mind. Do you have a strong character that are memorable? Wow. I don't want to use old films. Let me use Frozen. Frozen is a powerful character. That girl, Frozen. My daughter will say, Daddy, I need a Frozen bag. It's a very strong character, and I think that's one of the problems we have in this country. We don't know how to write strong characters. When I say strong characters, they are characters that you see and you can actually feel it, you can eat them, you can believe that they're actually real. But most especially, if your character is not strong enough to have part 2, look at the character very well. Meaning that you need to explore every aspect of the character. One of the things I do when I write characters is I try to look at characters from different aspects. Relationship, age, education, all those things. Ask yourself that question. Let it be an all-rounder Question. Then E, does your story have conflicts? Does your story have conflicts? The typical act for any movie is ordinary world, conflict, then resolution. I'm just saying. If you want, it's deeper than that. In fact, there's actually the 8-act structure, but basically it's, ordinary world, meaning who is the character before it starts. A conflict comes, meaning he needs to set off on a journey. And the journey is really a conflict. Okay, and the stronger your conflict, the better your movie. I repeat, the stronger your conflict, the better your movie. And that's why when you see high concept movies, they make more money. How do you know a high concept movie? You start with what if. For example, for those who have not seen Spider-Man, it's a high concept movie. And the concept is, what if all the villains from the past come into his world? Boom! Conflict. Who wants to watch that one? Because already you are imagining, even if you don't know anything about the old characters, but that all the villains are coming into his world. There's conflict. So try and make your I think we don't do it very well in this country. Our conflicts are quite they're not very strong. So we need to have very strong conflicts. Something that you watch and you're like, how would this guy resolve this thing? When I was watching Spider-Man, I was asking myself, how would Peter Parker come out of this thing? I can't imagine him surviving, but he did. Then F is a script written for animation. It's a script written for animation. There are some scripts that are not written for animation. There are some things there are some emotions that are probably just better left for live action. There's a way you write an animation script. Next slide. I'm with time. Okay, 3. Are you producing yourself? A producer should be able to do the following. So if you are producing yourself, because sometimes as an animation studio, you might want to produce yourself. Okay, even though I advise that if you're an animation studio, you need to try and employ a producer. Why? A producer is somewhat like an accountant. Just like in your books when you are making money, a producer is like an accountant that helps you keep records and keeps everything clean. Most times, if you are the one doing the whole thing, you might get lost in the creative parts that you forget the administration part. So a producer is actually an administrator. A producer will help you keep costs low and deals with money. And the funny thing is, when I began on this journey, I thought a producer was somebody that, hey, you must really be, hey, no. See, you can get, I use the word accountant because accountants are very accountable. And they understand detail. So if you have somebody who understands detail, who understands money, and can attack you and say, okay, we're not doing that, we're not spending that, who will say, look guys, you need to finish this frame today. Nobody's going home. Sometimes that's what it takes, because if somebody goes home, you've delayed another day. That means you have to pay for the extra day. Thank God in Nigeria we pay monthly. But imagine if you're in a country where they pay hourly. Imagine how much you run off on your budget. B, negotiate and hire. You must find someone who can be able to negotiate and hire. The project I'm working on with different people, I'm a showrunner. So what a showrunner means, I'm like a producer. My job is to get 3D artists, to get writers, to get everything. But you need to have a way of negotiating, paying people less without making them feel bad. Okay? See, you have to keep track of projects. The person must be able to keep track of projects. This is a very key one. Most people, there's something I have in my office, I say, finishing is better than perfection. Finishing is better than perfection. Most people, sometimes you want, it's not good enough. Let's add some shadows here. Let's add some. So in our studio, what we do is we finish first. If you give a deadline of 3 weeks, we'll finish like in 1 week. Then in that 1 week, we watch it again and say, okay, so what can we add on this thing? So that if the client says, oh, sorry, like BC was saying, he said, I'm sorry to refer to you, but he's the only one that has really done that movie thing. He said the film was supposed to be in December, but there was coronavirus, so he relaxed. He was saying it's corona now. Everybody should understand. because in the contract they put act of God. Am I right? That if act of God happens, you are allowed to terminate this contract and all that. So act of God happened, there was COVID-19. But unfortunately for him, the producer said, look, we have already paid for December slots. You need to make it happen. So now he had to call everybody back from home. He had to buy new computers or something. He spent like 10 million extra to make that film happen. So you need somebody who can keep track of the project, who has the mind of finishing a lot earlier before the deadline. That thing has helped. One of the things that Spoof has gotten right is that you can't give us job, we will meet your deadline. We don't miss deadline. It's better you under-promise and over-perform than over-promise and underperform. D, someone who carries the entire project. You need somebody who's a leader too. Who will go to the storyboard artist and say, hey guy, how you doing? Rub the back. I had one producer like that in my office. Her name is Esther. Esther was a nice person. Esther will come with you, like you don't eat, and you just walking. She will say, okay, you know what, let me go and buy the food. She will buy the food for you, put it on your table so that you don't leave that table. So you need someone like that who is so focused on the goal that he or she will do anything. Say, can I rub your back? She'll rub the person's back. You cannot put your ears, you feel good. But it doesn't mean you have to be a nice guy all the time. Yes, deals with human resources. Like I said, she's a very good human resource person. Next slide. Do you understand the animation pipeline? Next slide. So we'll just run through the animation pipeline. Understand that there is a difference in the 2D and 3D animation pipeline. This is very, very important. So here's a list of some things that culminate into the animation pipeline. This is for 2D. I think 3D is quite also different from this. And I think there are some significant areas, but the pre-production mostly are always like the same. We do storyboard for a Spanish studio, and one of the things that they do is like the 2D is they do all the storyboarding, the character design, animatics. Then after that, the process changes. So I don't know the process. I don't do 3D, so BC already talked about that in his own session. Next slide. Next slide. Do you know how to hire a team? Good question. Do you know how you hire a team? One of the reasons why that movie project I mentioned failed was because the team was not the right team. Not everybody that is good is best for your team. Okay? Not everybody that is good is best for your team. Sometimes you might not find somebody who is that good, but is a good person. You guys flow together. If you flow together, the person can rise above normal to deliver. But if you have somebody who is arrogant or who feels he knows everything, the guy might frustrate you. So let's look at some points. Next slide. You need a team to work with you. It takes a village to make animation. Are you compatible? Are you compatible? You know yourself. You know those things you like. There are some things that when you see the person, it turns you off. For me, it's arrogance. If I meet somebody who's arrogant, I won't even start working with you in the person. No matter how good you are, I believe that there's a B person who can deliver that thing if I give him encouragement and give him resources. So you need to ask yourself, who am I compatible with? Do you like somebody who is confident? Or do you like somebody who is shy? Do you like somebody who takes instructions? Or do you like somebody who gives you ideas? Because some people, they're not bad people, but yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. I don't know if you met people like that. They don't give you ideas. And so what do you think we use green? I agree, and that's good sir. Some people like it, some people like it. They like people who obey them, who just say, yes, I'm the god of this project. So whatever I say, move, you move. B, shared values, which is what I'm talking about. Do you share the same value of time? Does he believe in time management like you? Or he says, oh God, don't kill yourself, Jerry, and this one will finish. Work will be always day. And they go, I go chop, come. The guy goes chop, doesn't come back to leave me. And then he comes like, that amala, I just didn't sleep. And next minute, he's asleep. And like, oh bro, it's over. I don't pay for this thing. I'm sure he understands what I'm talking about. Creativity. Do you have someone who is creative? Someone who has the same creativity with you? You know, there are some people, they'll give you ideas like this, look at them, like this, I need this word. You know, you need somebody who is creative. Now, I want to say this also, that not everybody who's a tech person is a creative person. And that's a mistake we usually make. Not everybody who's a tech person is a creative person. Some people are just tech people. They are executioners. They execute. You give them this, I want this chair in red, blah, blah, blah. They execute, they give you exactly. But ask them to create that chair, they can't. So you need to ask yourself, do you need someone who's creative? Do you need someone who's efficient? Efficiency, that means manages time with work. Then size. What is the size of team you need? One thing I've learned managing spoof is I realized that you don't necessarily need that big size. And sometimes you do need the big size. You need to ask yourself, can I scale up or scale down? What kind of size do I really need for this movie? F. Ask yourself, and this one is very, very important. I usually do not work with people who don't have something to lose. It's very dangerous. Even if what that person has to lose is name. You must work with somebody who has something to lose so that the person will carry the project like it matters. You know, there are some people that you give them projects, for them it's all about the money. You know, like, the deadline has passed. Okay, you go drop something extra, or else I won't be able to do this work. Come on, do this job, let's deliver the job first. Then we can talk money. I said, no, he's not touching this thing until he works. People have their principles. If you are that kind of person who likes to pay for everything, fine, you can hire somebody like that. But if you are somebody who feels like the person needs to have a buy-in to you, you know, the person sees the project more than he sees the money attached to it, then the relationship can work. G, a good show reel to show competence. Okay, this is a very important one. Before you hire somebody, try and look at the person's show reel. Okay, because of the nature of environment we are, sometimes you may not see the best person for your idea, but look out for the person who is close. Because most times, what studios need is just that challenge. They can actually do it, but they've never done it before because nobody has paid them to do it. And one of the things that I have enjoyed in spoof is that I've learned with every job I get. And we have a principle in spoof. We don't know how to do mediocre work again. There was a job we did for one Spotify. It's a short 8-second stuff. And when the guy brought the job to us, he was like, he doesn't have money, bros, just help me, I'm an upcoming artist. Bros. He mentioned the money. If I mention the money, all of you will laugh. Ayo, you do this kind of job. You know, I was like, bring it, let's do it. And I collected the job. So the guy was thinking, he mentioned one studio in Ghana that he just wants something like in Ghana. I said, I can't do that one. I can't do that kind. I'm past that level. When I finished that stuff, I'm sure some of you saw the video. We got calls. Bonner Boy reached out to us and all that. So, what am I saying? Sometimes, as a studio, you need to have a show reel, you know, to show. So that people will see that, okay, this person, if I give him more money or if he has more time, he can do something more fantastic. And so, you always try and pick studios who have that kind of show reel for you to work with. Next slide. Do you know how to raise money? One, and this is very important. I'll just touch on it, then maybe during the question and answer session you can ask. Pre-sale. Pre-sale means selling your movie before you make it. B, co-produce. Look for somebody who can share the risk of money with you. G, grants. Competitions. These are ways of getting money. You can either apply for grants. Mr. Miwaka was talking yesterday that he got for $2,000 worth of grants. Free money for Total Type. I was like, what? You know? But imagine if you had gone ahead to look for more grants. You would have made a good amount of money. So, and that's why I said you have to have begging mentality. There's money out there. But if you're not ready to beg, it sounds funny, if you're not ready to beg, now let me also mention why that begging is good. Most creators are independence. And sometimes it leans towards selfishness. You know, they have this concept of, I want to be the first to do something. I want to be I want to be the best. I want to be this thing. It's good, you know, everybody hates you, it's good. But this is the problem. Your project is your own. Nobody will share it. Nobody will talk about it. Nobody, because you are the only one who worked on the project. It is you and alone. But if you have partners who are giving you money, imagine if the American government gave you money. Imagine if the Nigerian government gave you money. On your launching, do you know how much I'm going to make? Because the American government will bring their own delegates. The Ethiopian people will bring their own delegates. And they will bring their crowd and they will watch the film. And the film will be successful. And that is why, as a producer, you don't just produce on your own. You must look for people who you beg for money. They'll give their money, will be invested so that you can make the money back. It's very, very important, very key. Then E, beg. Like I said, you can go to Kickstarter, you can go to family, friends, benefactors. Then banks. We talked about that yesterday. The banker who came gave us enough talk about banking, how to raise money from banks. Next slide. Importance of pitch deck. Next slide. A pitch deck is a brief presentation that gives potential investors or clients an overview of your business plan, product, services, and growth. One of the key tools you need for begging is a pitch deck. I'm using that word begging a lot, but don't take it out of context. I believe you understand what I mean. You need a pitch deck. Right now I have about 5 pitch decks. You know, we have an agent in America now that is helping us shop to HBO, Marvel, DC, and all that. You need a pitch deck because, in fact, one of the mistakes we make in this country is that some of us do small clip. Small clip. That thing, it can end your career. I learned that the hard way. You do short clip, and then they ask you, how did you raise money for the short clip? Say, no, we did in our studio, we are finished. Okay, because that short clip that you did, because to you, it's just a short clip now, you can run it. And you run it, maybe 1 month, you run it, you do a fantastic job, you put it out. And they ask you, how did you source money? Who are the co-producers on this? I said, no, I did it myself. At that point, it shuts down. Do you know why? Because they believe that you are not good at begging for money. And what that means is that if they join you, you will be useless to them. And nobody wants to partner with you if you cannot raise money, if you don't have people that you can raise money from. This is very important. It sounds funny. It's not just about you have money in your bank. Even if you have the money in the bank to do the movie, don't try it. Go out and beg. Look for more money. So a pitch deck is very good. I'll just go briefly. A pitch deck, what does a pitch deck have? A pitch deck has the characters, has the story, has the mood, has some of the things that you need to just give an idea of what the movie was all about. Now, instead of you making your own showreel to show what the movie looks like, look for movies that you have seen before and attach to it. And one of the key ideas of pitch deck is when you say tell the investor, the movie will look like Shrek. The movie will look like this. Always relate to something that people have actually watched before. That thing is very good. Don't just come, it's a fresh idea. There's nothing like it in the world. No, don't start that. You can say, it's a mixture of Shrek and Moana. We've seen Shrek, we've seen Moana. Nice. It will sell. They give you money. Next slide. Do you know how to sell your content? Very key. If you don't know how to sell your content, don't make it. Okay? These are the following ways you should learn how to sell your content. You need to learn how to sell your content to pre-sellers. Now, a pre-seller is someone who says, Ayo, I like this content. I'll give you 70 million for it. It's mine. We were sharing with Kugali yesterday, the guys who won the Wajo contract. And he said something very profound. He said, Iwaju is not their IP. It's Disney. So, in their own way, they pre-sold it. They pre-sold it. So you might have a concept like that, and you might want to pre-sell it. It's not every time it's my own, I must own IP, it's killing this industry. I must own the IP, I must own the IP, and you cannot do anything beyond that IP. So if you have somebody who wants to pre-sell and say, look, I'm buying this content from you in advance before you make it, collect the money, use the money to make the film, and keep the little change. It can be risky because later on the film cannot make plenty money, and then you now start feeling bad. So you need to know your risk level and collect good money, so that even when the film now makes plenty money, you don't cash out. And if the film fails, you also don't cash out. Because people don't think about the failure of the film. They only think about the money. B, broadcasters. There are so many broadcasters. When you hear the word broadcaster, when you go to all these animation stuff, you keep hearing broadcaster. Who's your broadcaster? Who's your broadcaster? Who's your broadcaster? Who broadcaster? It's TV stations that they call broadcaster. We call them TV stations there, but that's what they call them, broadcasters. People who have TV stations like YouTube, who have channels that you can show your content. So you can sell your content to broadcasters. There's one I'm actually currently working on with a pitch deck. So so the broadcaster can pre-sell. Okay, so what they might do is like, okay, I like this content. I'm going to sign a 2-year contract for the content, and I'm giving you 30% of the budget. Okay, so you can say, oh, that's a good deal. Then you take the film, and they own the film for 2 years. They show it. After 2 years, you can now go non-exclusive. So that could be your own way of selling your film. You need agents, studios, and some producers are agents, but not all producers are agents, because a producer is not supposed to be an agent. A producer is supposed to make the job done. An agent is the one that sells the film. So you might have to look for an agent. There was that one we signed one in Poland, and then the man was charging us. But if you had signed him on, we would have probably gone. So if you have an agent to handle your film, what the agent does is he helps you put it to film festivals, it helps you talk about it around, he makes noise about it, he can even do the pre-selling and broadcasting for you if he's very good and all that. You could also decide to use YouTube. I put YouTube there because YouTube now monetizes content. So you could say, look, this is my movie, I don't want to put it on YouTube and monetize it. It's so good, I'm sure people are going to pay for it. Then finally, personal websites. My sister, Mildred Iko, was like, I'm putting my film on my website. I was like, why? Like, the film costs 140 million to make, and Netflix is offering me 60 million. It doesn't work. I was like, so what do you want to do? So she puts it on her website, so now you can watch it. So she's opening the website to go and watch it to pay, and she's making her money from there. So you need to ask yourself, do you have the influence enough to command people paying for your content on your site? Or you want to go on YouTube, or you want to get an agent, or you want to broadcast, or you pre-sell? Next slide. Okay, final words. How many minutes I have? Then we'll take questions. So final word, there's a huge market. How many minutes I have? 30 minutes, okay. There's a huge market out there. And I'm telling you, there's a huge market out there. There's money out there. There's money out there. When I say out there, not Nigeria, out there. Even here there's some money, because the executive secretary was telling us that Lagos State has a fund for creative people that can access as high as is it 40 million? From 3 million to 40 million. If you're a filmmaker, they can give you that money. But you have to go and meet them and pre-sell yourself and beg. And so that they can give you that money. You need to know how to beg. Alright, so thank you very much, and I hope you had a nice time. So let's take questions. Any questions? Yeah, I like questions, because questions means people actually understood what I said. Questions?
My question is, I just want to ask, thank you very much for the presentation. I want to ask, the Nigerian film industry. I understand what you talked about, general overview of what it is like internationally. But maybe could you just talk a bit more about your experiences in other producers, production crew in Nigeria? How did they really is it close to this? Is it this, or is it better than this? How do we make it happen for Nigerian productions? so that we can steal those ideas to as well.
Okay. First of all, if you want to really do a movie, we're talking about movies now, not because movies and you need to. My advice, please, you need to find a way of making your movie, between 10 million and 15 million. If you want to be a local person, and that's what you want to do, make it between 10 million and 50 million, okay, so that at least you can make your money from the box office. Nigeria is a tough crowd. I met one of my Cameroonian friends, and he had a film called Minga. He's screening at the other hall. And I was like, I want to bring Minga to Nigeria. I said, forget it. Nigeria will not appreciate this film. They will not watch it.
Minga, that's manga.
Minga is a Cameroonian.
Oh, okay.
Minga and the Golden Spoon, something about Magical Spoon, something like that. I watched it in Congo when I was in Congo, and I loved the film. So he now came to me like, Ayo, Nigeria is a big market. Can he come to Nigeria and make money? I said, look, Nigeria is a big market, but it's a harsh market. And Nigeria is a harsh market because Nigeria has been fed Disney, Marvel, and American content. So Nigerian crowd, they are tough crowd. And I'm telling you, and that's why an animation movie might not really sell in this country. I'm just telling you. Even, I don't know how Mopping Upstairs did, but I don't think it did well. From what I heard, it didn't do very well. Nigerian crowd is a tough crowd. Nigerian crowd will watch your animation and criticize it. And once they criticize it, they are walking out the door and they are criticizing it, telling everybody, don't bother yourself. They are tough crowd. No, I'm being honest. They are tough crowd. Right now, making animation movie in Nigeria for me is out of the. I don't even think about it. It's crazy. It doesn't make sense. Okay, because there's no way, except you are a guru, there's no way you can shoot animation film with below 15 million. Okay, so but I think that if you can make an animation film that is Nigerian but international, okay, because one thing I didn't mention also is that the broadcasters can also buy your content after it has finished the cinema runs. But the problem with that is that if your film did not do well in cinemas, the broadcasters might not price you well. Okay? So you need to ask yourself, am I doing a direct to TV kind of movie, or am I doing a cinema movie? Okay, so these are the challenges I feel, because we don't have much screens in Nigeria to showcase films. So I hope I've been able to answer your question. You raised your hand.
Yeah, I did. Okay, you were talking about getting writers that can write for international audience. I just wanted to expand on that. What do you really mean by getting? What are we looking for in these writers that would make us know that they're for international?
Okay, recently we hired 4 writers. 3 of them are Nigerian writers, and they work for African Magic and all that. And then we asked them to write the show. When they returned the show, I was like, this is not an international show. The problem in Nigeria is because we do a lot of soap operas. Most people write for soap opera. Most people write for long form, meaning that you have 13 episodes, 15 episodes, and all that to develop the character. And the problem is they bring that to film. Film is a short form type of stuff. And the problem with that is there's no pacing. There's no pacing in their work. There's no pacing in their writing. Okay? So they spend a lot of time. Secondly, you need to find a writer who is able to come up with creative scenes. Okay? That can imagine a scene. Not just watch a film like I've seen it before. One of the reasons why I hate Nigerian films. I don't know, but I'm a Nigerian. But one of the reasons is, whenever I go and watch Nigerian film, I feel like I've seen this before. Okay? I feel like I've seen this before. I feel like the writer could have created a scene in a particular way that I would like, oh, this is very unbelievable, and all that. Then, I think thirdly, one of the challenges I've seen with Nigerian writers is they write a lot of drama. Drama. Because when you write a lot of drama, you tend to talk a lot in your film. You need to talk a lot, talk a lot, talk a lot, talk a lot. So an international show does not talk a lot. An international show, you don't repeat yourself. Okay, and so one of the things when we saw in those writers was we had to drop all of them. We're not trying to get a Nigerian writer in Germany. So one of the things that we saw, that was what we saw in their script. And we're like, these people cannot write an international show. It's not fast-paced enough. It's full of dialogue. It's full of all these emotions and stuff. So these are the things that you should look out for in hiring a good writer for an international show. But if you are doing a local show, fine. You can hire them, the local people consume it. Because, and that's another thing. I noticed that Nollywood is doing well in some places, okay? But if that's your target market, maybe you want to go into, maybe your target market is local people and all that. But the problem with animation is, if any child is even watching animation, the person is exposed. Am I right? The person must have a level of exposure.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to at least write your story to meet what they're already watching on Cartoon Network, what they're already watching on Disney Plus and all that. So that's what I mean by international show. What's her name? Omotunde spoke yesterday about writing for international shows, and she did a very fantastic job yesterday.
Okay.
Time. 3 minutes left. Okay.
Yeah, I love your presentation. Very, very impactful and very a lot of things I've learned from you. So, I'd like to know your own thought process being in a veteran industry. And what will you consider are the top 3 genres that you recommend someone that wants to go to film? And your reasons why?
Okay, let me first of all say that there is animated films for children and there's animated film for adults. So you need to ask where you are falling in the two. Okay? Right now, for children content, magic, tech, adventure. If you go in that direction, you will not miss it. You will not miss it too far. Okay? But if you are going for adult content, now you might now start going towards love, action, and adventure. So for me, that's my own personal, for what I've seen and I've experienced talking with agents and talking with co-producers and stuff, and that's the difference between that's what I've seen. So if you fall into that line, most likely you have a buyer, someone that will buy it, is already waiting for you, kind of. Yeah. Last question, and then we'll wrap up. Sorry, this is the last question.
I would like you to explain further, how do you differentiate the script for animation and the script that is not meant for animation?
Okay. One of the things that has helped me as an animation director and as an animator and the producer of animation is I make comic books. Okay? And when you make comic books, there's a way you write because you are drawing it. Especially for 2D animation. I don't know about 3D animation script, but for 2D animation script, there's a way you write it, having your back of your mind that this thing is going to be drawn. Okay? And there are some things that you need to explain further in an animation script. Okay? It needs to be well detailed. For example, you're writing a film script, just say Palo, Obi is sitting in his parlor, he's watching his film and blah blah blah. But for an animation, you might want to describe further because ultimately they're still going to draw that stuff. So you might just need to explain a little further. So whoever the storyboard artist speaking your script can imagine what that space looks like and come up with the concepts and all that. It's also heavily camera driven and all those stuff that a movie may not have, because a movie would probably have a director. And that's the difference between a movie and a live action movie and an animation movie. A live action movie, the director is fully in charge. But for an animation movie, the director is not fully in charge. Okay, because the director might say, I want this to happen, this thing. And the animator says, the animation director says, look, sorry, we can't achieve that. Am I right? For example, water, all those effects. So if you're writing for animation, you need to also consider all those. But in live action, anything can happen. There's some movements in live action that you can do. But in animation, you might need to talk to your animation director to say, okay, is this movement possible? Are we doing mocap? Or can you, achieve some of these things? Sure you get. So it's animation script is usually fatter than a movie script because of the directions and stuff that you have inside. All right, there's no more time because another session will be going on right now in the VVIP section. So kindly, if you have the VVIP tag or you're a special guest, kindly move in there and enjoy the powerful session that's starting there right now. Thank you and God bless.